Back at it again, baby, and we got another one from Dinesh de Souza. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but let's dive in.
The film 2000 Mules is now the most successful political documentary in a decade. Wow. Just crossed $10 million in gross revenue. And look, for the Titanic or big Hollywood movie, that's not a big number, but for a political documentary, it's kind of unheard of. And especially because the documentary hasn't had the normal type of mass theatrical release, which I've had for my own earlier films. We had a limited theatrical, and we went on a very adventurous road. Let's have the film on Salem Now, salemnow.com, and also on the Rumble platform called Locals. And that's just 2000mules.locals.com. And then, of course, DVDs. So, and nevertheless, with this kind of strategy of putting the film on uncancelable platforms, it is taken off. And we're not just talking about the revenue. I'm always happy to pay back my investors, so they'll do it again. But also in terms of influence, it really reshaping the way people think about our elections, really changing the debate on what happened in the 2020 election, all of that. Now, there have been various sort of fact checks now on the film, PolitiFact, AP.
Is that true? It's the most successful political film in the last decade? $10 million rev? Pretty good. I'll take 10 mil. I'm sure most of y'all would too, you know? But yeah, that's interesting. And it's only been released on non-conventional platforms. So if it had been able to be released on, you know, your mainstream kind of platforms, it would have pushed out some more numbers. And I wonder if at this point he could get away with putting it on mainstream platforms. I mean, it's already been selling. I mean, if it sold 10 million on you know, non-conventional platforms, I wonder if he could get it on mainstream platforms because it's already been selling, so it's already out there, or if they would just completely block it. What do y'all think?
Washington Post. I'm going to come back to the Washington Post to fill a bump of the Washington Post in the next segment. But I want to talk now about a couple of, just responsible questions raised about the film by Ben Shapiro and by others. One of them is simply this. Hey, Dinesh, we do not see in the film the same guy making multiple trips to a Dropbox. In other words, making more than one Dropbox visit. The same guy, not different people doing it. And we know that you have geo-tracking showing it, but we don't see it. Now, this is true. But let me tell you why it's true. And it's true because most of these Dropboxes, sadly, have no surveillance footage. They just don't. And so even though the geo-tracking, by the way, the geo-tracking is more reliable than video footage for the same reason that DNA is more reliable than an eyewitness. DNA shows you left a hair or a drop of blood on the crime scene, and it's your DNA. You were there. Now, an eyewitness could be mistaken. It could be people who look similar. So eyewitness evidence is good on top of the technological evidence. So if geo-tracking shows a mule going from one Dropbox to another, let's say between 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning, and it turns out that on the fifth Dropbox, there happens to be surveillance footage, and you know that this guy was there at a specific moment in a day and time, and you look on the video at that day and that time, and there he is, boom, you've proven your case. You've established it clearly. The geo-tracking supports the video confirms the geo-tracking. So it seems to me...
And one of you actually said it perfectly. One of you guys typed in the comment section of yesterday's video where we checked out Ben Shapiro's response, or Ben Shapiro's review of 2000 Mules, and one of you guys said, it's not a smoking gun, but it's a gun. And when I read that comment, I was like, wow, I couldn't have said that any better. Like that embodies what I kind of feel right now in this moment, you know, after watching Ben Shapiro's response video. I was like, yeah, it's not a smoking one, but it is one. Kind of situation. And that's where I think we kind of are with this film. It's a cause to pause, something that we need to be taking a closer look at and making sure that we take some more steps to ensure that this or anything like it never happens again, if this is all true. And you guys can let me know, what do you think we could do to make sure that this never happens again, if this is true.
What Ben Shapiro is kind of asking for is unreasonable. It's kind of like saying you've got a serial killer. He went to 5 different homes and committed a murder. He left his DNA, by the way, at all of them. We have the DNA. We know he was there. And Ben's like, well, wait a minute. I don't see video of him in all 5 homes. Well, yeah, that's because there's only one home that had cameras, and he is on the camera at the exact time that you would expect. There he is. But
that's a little bit different. If you have DNA, I mean, there's your smoking one right there. You know, you can't change your DNA. Nobody else could have your DNA. Somebody else could have your phone, reasonably speaking. Very, very unlikely, but other people could have your phone. You could have left your phone in a car somewhere and lost it, and somebody stole your car. You know what I mean? There's a multitude, but nobody else has your specific DNA. So that's a little bit different in that circumstance, but I understand what he's trying to get at here in this situation. He's saying, we have the gun. And Ben Shapiro is asking for, the manufacturer and all of this other stuff, but we have the gun, and it's not smoking, but it's some damning evidence right here. So I understand what he's trying to get at when he says this stuff.
Because the other homes didn't have cameras, I can't show you him, even though I can prove definitively through technological evidence that he was in fact there. Now, all that being said, yesterday I received from Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips of True the Vote a screenshot. This is a screenshot of the video of the same guy on 2 separate occasions, 2 different outfits, stuffing ballots, multiple ballots in his hand in drop boxes. And I posted that on social media. You can look closely at the photo. It's evidently the same guy. So it turns out that we do have at least one case of a guy, the same guy, on more than one occasion stuffing a ballot box. But point I want to make is, the failure here is not on our part. It's the paucity, it's the unavailability of adequate video. Frankly, if the states did what they said, if they followed the election rules, if they had video everywhere, we would have the mules at every drop box. We would have them at every drop box they went to. But the reason we don't is that even in places where we have video, and you may say, well, wait a minute, don't you have 4 million minutes of video? Yeah, we do. But we should have a great deal more. Even in Georgia, where we have video, most of the drop boxes, no video. And they'll say, we don't have the video and we don't know why we don't. And then you go to Arizona and there are places where we know they turned off the video. And then you go to Wisconsin and there's no video in the entire state. So the bottom line is that the evidence stands up on its own.
Also, another idea that just popped up in my head, all drop boxes, if we continue to have them, and we could have a discussion about that as far as sharing up next election, but all of them should have a live streamed camera on them at all times. Live streamed. So there's no turning it off, no editing and and turning it back on. None of that. Everything should be live streamed. There's no reason why it can't be. We have Wi-Fi everywhere. You could easily create a YouTube channel to live stream it or put it on a website. That's easily done. So, do you guys think that would work? Obviously, that'd be a whole lot of live streams going on, but it would I feel like it may sure things up a little bit more. Y'all let me know how you feel in the comment section, please.
The bottom line is that the evidence stands up on its own. The DNA, I'm talking here about the digital DNA, because see, our cell phones have a distinctive ID. And now I can give my cell phone to Debbie. I've said this before, and maybe she was at the Dropbox, but that my cell phone was at that location is not open to doubt. And let me close this section by reading a line. This is Chief Justice Roberts in the 2018 case, the Carpenter case, dealt with geo-tracking and privacy issues. And I'm quoting him now. When the government tracks the location of a cell phone, it achieves near perfect surveillance as if it had and I'm quoting him now.
What did you say?
Carpenter case dealt with This is Chief Justice Roberts in the 2018 case, the Carpenter case.
Chief Justice Roberts in a
dealt
case.
with geo-tracking and privacy issues. And I'm quoting him now. When the government tracks the location of a cell phone, it achieves near perfect surveillance as if it had attached an ankle monitor to the phone's user. So think of how that squares or doesn't square with all the so-called bogus fact checkers. Geo-tracking is very imprecise, very inaccurate. It's on the contrary, geo-tracking is very precise.
Yeah, I disagree with anybody who's fact checking and saying geo-tracking isn't accurate enough to determine, like, even if it wasn't extremely accurate, we'll buy into that theory. Geo-tracking isn't extremely accurate. It's quite a coincidence that the phone is even near all of these locations, right? Even if it's not 100% accurate, the fact that you were even near all of these specific locations, it's not smoking, but it's a gun. You know what I mean? Kind of situation. So, yeah, and I need to sit down and watch this film in its entirety. There's quite a few films that I actually need to sit down and watch. I need to watch the Uncle Tom documentary from Larry Elder still. So I've got some videos that I need to sit down and watch. First off, I need to figure out where I can find some of these films as well. If you guys know where I can get 2,000 Mules, and actually he mentioned it earlier. I want to say he said a Rumble platform or something. And the Uncle Tom documentary, I think somebody said I could get it on Amazon, the Amazon streaming service. But anyway, yeah, very, very interesting information here. Like I said, an extreme cause to pause. It's not smoking, but it's definitely a gun type situation. But my question would be, what do you guys think we could do to make sure that after next election, win or lose, there would be no questions about the legitimacy of it? Now, of course, there's going to be your outliers. There's always going to be individuals when their party loses, they're going to scream fraud. There's always going to be those individuals. But for the rest of us sane folks, what do you guys think could be done? My initial thought process was making sure that everybody voted in person. Now, obviously, there's a lot of caveats to that. There's some disabled individuals. There's some people that are deployed, those type of situations. And there would have to be some tweaking and some things done to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance to vote. I don't want to exclude anybody from voting unless they're not actually eligible to vote legally. I think their ID should be required. The government should approve a spending bill to make sure that anybody who doesn't have an ID has transportation to either a DMV or gets access to the internet so that they can have one mailed to their address. I don't want anyone to, not be able to vote because they don't have an ID for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I don't want that to happen either. So I think that is definitely doable. There was one other thing that I had thought of as well, but now it's left my mind. Also transportation to the polling locations. That could be done through paying Uber drivers to basically get people to and from polling locations if they don't have transportation to a location. I want to make sure that every person has a chance to vote, but everybody does it in person. Obviously, military personnel that's deployed, that can't be done. I want to make sure they get their opportunity as well. So obviously that can't be done in person. But yeah, you guys let me know how you feel in the comment section. What can we do so that 99.9% of people after next election, win or lose, they're satisfied with knowing that it was legitimate? Talk to me in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. Make sure you guys share these videos, all right? These videos do not get out without your help. It is the arrow button down below. You can copy the link, send it to your friends via text, post it on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, wherever. All right. Thank you to everyone that has already been sharing these videos. I greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you hit the like button. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and leaving a comment as well. All right. Peace and love. I'm out.